The morning started like any other aboard the U.S. Defiant. Captain James Miller stood at the bridge's main window, sipping his black coffee, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The massive battleship, nearly a mile long, represented humanity's greatest achievement in military technology. The calm morning shattered when red warning lights flooded the bridge. Emergency klaxons blared through the ship's corridors. Captain, Lieutenant Emma Thompson's voice cut through the noise. Her hands flew across the tactical display. Multiple objects just appeared past Neptune's orbit. They're moving at impossible speeds. Miller placed his coffee down carefully. "Show me." The main screen lit up with dozens of red dots, all moving in perfect formation. They were heading straight for Earth. "Get me Naval Command," Miller ordered. His voice remained steady, despite his racing heart. Years of training had prepared him for this moment. Humanity's first contact with alien life. The screen switched to show Admiral Hayes's stern face. "Captain Miller, I assume you're seeing this." "Yes, sir. What are our orders?" "The President has called an emergency meeting. For now, move the Defiant into defensive position. We're mobilizing the entire fleet." As Miller issued orders, more crew members rushed to their stations. Lieutenant Thompson kept her eyes glued to the tactical display, monitoring the approaching objects. "Sir," she called out, her voice tense. "These readings, they're like nothing we've ever seen. Each ship is giving off enough energy to power New York City for a year." Chief Engineer Mark Anderson spoke up from his station. "Captain, the quantum shield system is ready. We've never tested it in actual combat, but it's our best defense against unknown weapons." Miller nodded. The quantum shield was a breakthrough in defensive technology. It could adapt to different types of attacks, learning and adjusting in real time. They had tested it against every weapon Earth had, but alien technology was another matter entirely. Communications Officer Brooks, any signals from the visitors? Laura Brooks adjusted her headset. "Nothing yet, sir." "Wait." She paused, her eyes widening. "Sir, they're broadcasting something." The bridge speakers crackled to life. A deep mechanical voice filled the room, speaking in perfect English. "Attention, inhabitants of Sol 3. Your planet has been chosen for harvesting. Your resources will serve a greater purpose. Resistance is—" The voice paused, as if searching for the right word. "Inadvisable." Miller's jaw tightened. "Brooks, can you trace that transmission?" "Already on it, sir. It's coming from the largest ship in their formation. Based on its size, I'd guess it's their command vessel." The alien fleet continued their approach, their formation spreading out like a massive net. Earth's other defense ships were moving into position, but everyone knew the Defiant was their best hope. It carried weapons and defensive systems that were years ahead of anything else in Earth's arsenal. "Lieutenant Thompson, what's their estimated time of arrival?" "At their current speed, they'll reach Earth's moon in 48 hours. Miller studied the tactical display. The alien ships moved with unnatural precision, their formation never wavering. But something caught his eye. "Thompson, focus sensors on their shield emissions. Do you see that pattern?" Emma leaned forward, adjusting her display. "Yes, there's a fluctuation every time they change direction, even slightly. Their shields weaken for a fraction of a second." "Good catch, Captain," Anderson said, already working at his station. "If we can predict those fluctuations, we might have a chance. The quantum shield could help us survive long enough to exploit that weakness." Miller straightened his uniform and addressed his crew. "Listen up, everyone. In 2 days, we're going to face something no human has ever faced before. But remember this. That ship you're sitting in is the most advanced piece of technology humanity has ever created. Every system, every weapon, every circuit represents the best our species has to offer." He looked each crew member in the eye. "They think they're coming to harvest a primitive world. Let's show them just how wrong they are." The bridge crew responded with determined nods. As they prepared for the coming battle, Earth's most advanced battleship held its position, a silent guardian against the approaching storm. In his mind, Miller was already forming a plan. The aliens might have superior technology, but they had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity. It wouldn't be their last mistake, but if Miller had his way, it would definitely be their biggest. 24 hours had passed since first contact. The U.S. Defiant maintained its position near Earth's moon, while Captain Miller attended an emergency video conference with world leaders and military commanders. The alien fleet has stopped just beyond Mars. Admiral Hayes reported to the gathered officials. His image flickered on the bridge's main screen. They're holding position, but their weapons remain powered up. The President of the United States spoke next. What are our options? Before anyone could answer, every screen on the Defiant turned to static. The alien transmission cut through all channels, impossible to block. Humans of Earth, the mechanical voice boomed. This time, they could see their enemy. Tall figures in sleek armor, their faces hidden behind metallic masks. We are the Dominion. Your civilization has been evaluated and found lacking. You have 2 of your Earth rotations to surrender all resources and accept your new position as a servant race. The alien commander leaned closer to the camera. If you refuse, we will reduce your cities to ash. Your oceans will boil. Your species will be erased. Laura Brooks worked frantically at her communications station. Sir, they're broadcasting this everywhere. TV, radio, internet. Everyone on Earth is seeing this. Miller watched the crew's faces. He saw fear there, but also anger. Good. Anger they could use. The alien continued. To demonstrate our power, the transmission showed one of their smaller ships approaching Mars. A beam of energy shot from its bow, striking the red planet's surface. Within seconds, a crater appeared, so large it was visible from space. That was only one of our scout ships, the alien commander said. Imagine what our entire fleet will do to your world. You have 48 hours. Choose wisely. The transmission cut off. Admiral Hayes reappeared on screen. Captain Miller, we're implementing Defense Plan Omega. All civilian ships are being evacuated from orbit. Ground forces are mobilizing worldwide. Miller nodded. What about the Defiant's special package? Authorized, Hayes replied. God help us if it doesn't work. The bridge crew looked at Miller curiously. Only he and Chief Engineer Anderson knew about the ship's secret weapon, a prototype device that could theoretically disrupt any energy shield. Miller turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Thompson, what's your analysis? Emma pulled up the sensor data from the Mars attack. Their weapons are powerful, but look here. She pointed to an energy reading. There's a 3-second charge up before each shot. If we know it's coming, we might have a chance to dodge or counter. Good work. Miller turned to his engineer. Anderson, how are the quantum shields coming? Better than expected, sir. Mark Anderson's face showed excitement despite the grave situation. After analyzing the Mars attack, I've modified our shields to match their energy frequency. We might be able to absorb some of their firepower. The next hours were a blur of activity. Ships from every nation gathered around Earth, forming a defensive line. The Defiant, being the most advanced, would lead the fleet. Miller called a meeting with his senior staff in the ship's briefing room. I won't lie to you, he said, looking at each of them. We're outgunned. Their ships are more advanced, but they made a crucial mistake. He stood up and walked to the window, watching Earth's fleet gather. They showed us their weapons. They gave us time to prepare. And most importantly, they threatened our home. Laura Brooks raised her hand. Sir, I've been studying their communication patterns. They're arrogant, used to races surrendering immediately. They don't expect a real fight. Exactly. Miller smiled. And that's why we're going to give them one they'll never forget. The crew spent the remaining hours running drills and fine-tuning their systems. Anderson worked non-stop on the quantum shields, while Thompson ran combat simulations based on the Mars attack. As the deadline approached, Miller stood on his bridge, watching the alien fleet loom in the distance. The Defiant's engines hummed with power, her weapons primed and ready. "Sir," Brooks called out. "Message from Admiral Hayes. All ships report ready." Miller took a deep breath. "Send our response to the aliens." Laura transmitted the short message they had prepared. "The people of Earth decline your offer. Come and take our planet, if you can." The alien ships immediately began to move. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Chief Engineer Mark Anderson hadn't slept in 36 hours. He stared at the data flowing across his screen in the Defiant's main engineering bay, his coffee growing cold beside him. Something was there, right at the edge of his understanding, about the alien ship's energy patterns. Come on," he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. Then he saw it. He hit the comm button so hard it cracked. "Captain Miller, you need to see this right now." 5 minutes later, Miller and Lieutenant Thompson rushed into engineering. Anderson pointed at his screen, his hands shaking with excitement. "Look at their shield frequency," he said. "Every 7 seconds, it pulses, just like a heartbeat." He pulled up another display. "Now look at our quantum shield." Miller leaned closer. "They're beating in opposite patterns." "Exactly." Anderson couldn't hide his grin. "Their shields are strongest when ours are weakest, and vice versa. But here's the beautiful part. We can change our shield's pulse. They can't." Thompson's eyes widened. "We could sync our shields to their pattern and create a feedback loop," Anderson finished. "Their own shield energy would bounce back at them. The bigger their ships, the harder they'll hit themselves." Miller straightened up. "How long to modify our shields?" 2 hours, maybe 3. "You have one." They're already moving into attack position. While Anderson worked on the shields, Laura Brooks made another discovery in the communication center. She rushed to find Captain Miller on the bridge. "Sir, I've broken their code." She held up a tablet showing rows of alien text. "They use a simple mathematical pattern to encrypt their fleet commands. It's like they never expected anyone to be smart enough to crack it." Miller took the tablet. "Can we listen to their communications?" "Better," Brooks smiled. "We can send fake commands. They'll never know they're from us." The captain immediately called a meeting of his senior staff. As they gathered around the tactical table, he laid out their plan. "Anderson's shield modification will be our surprise weapon," he said. "But first, we need to get close enough to use it. That's where Brooks's discovery comes in." He turned to Thompson. "How many ships are in their first attack wave?" 12 heavy cruisers, she replied. "All bigger than the Defiant." Miller nodded. "Here's what we're going to do. Brooks will send them fake orders, making them think their commander wants them to break formation. When they do, we'll slip through the gap. Once we're in close, we'll activate Anderson's shield modification." "What about the rest of Earth's fleet?" Thompson asked. "They'll hang back, making the aliens think we're retreating. Then, when the shield trick works, they'll attack from behind." Anderson's voice came over the comm. "Captain, shields are ready. I did it in 58 minutes." Miller smiled. "Excellent work. Everyone to battle stations. Let's show these aliens what humans can do." The bridge crew rushed to their posts. Through the main window, they could see the alien fleet approaching, their massive ships gleaming in the sunlight. "Ready, Brooks?" "Yes, sir." She took a deep breath and sent the fake command. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the alien formation began to break apart. A gap appeared in their lines, just large enough for the Defiant. "Full power to engines," Miller ordered. "Take us in." The Defiant shot forward, its quantum shields glowing. The alien ships, realizing their mistake, tried to close the gap, but they were too late. "We're in position," Thompson reported. "Their flagship is right above us." "Now, Anderson." The engineer activated his modified shields. For a second, nothing seemed to happen. Then the space around them lit up like a fireworks display. The alien ship's shields began to flicker and spark. Their own energy bounced back at them, amplified by the Defiant's quantum shields. The massive ships shuddered under the assault. "It's working," Anderson shouted. "Their shield strength is dropping fast." Miller watched as the mighty alien vessels began to drift, their power failing. His crew had done it. They'd found a way to turn the aliens' greatest strength into a weakness. "Send word to the fleet," he ordered. "Tell them to move in. The real battle for Earth starts now." Earth's ships began to advance, weapons ready. The aliens were about to learn that threatening humanity had been a very, very big mistake. The space around the moon erupted in chaos as the alien fleet realized their mistake. Their massive ships turned towards the Defiant, weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. "Multiple ships targeting us." Lieutenant Thompson's fingers flew across her tactical screen. "They're charging weapons." Captain Miller stood calm at the center of his bridge. "Helm, take us behind the moon. Use its gravity to boost our speed." The Defiant dove toward the moon's surface, engines blazing. 3 alien cruisers followed, their huge shadows falling over the smaller Earth ship. "Sir," Brooks called out from communications, "the alien commander is demanding we surrender or be destroyed." "Send no response," Miller ordered. "Anderson, how are our shields holding?" "Perfect, Captain." The engineer's voice carried his excitement. "Their shots are actually making us stronger. Each hit charges our quantum shields more." The Defiant skimmed the moon's surface, using its craters as cover. The alien ships followed, their massive size making them slower to turn. That's exactly what Miller had counted on. "Now, Thompson, hit the lid ship." The Defiant spun around, bringing all its guns to bear. The quantum shields pulsed, sending a wave of the aliens' own energy back at them. The lead ship's shields flickered and died. "Direct hit," Thompson cheered. "Their front armor is failing." The alien ship tried to turn away, but it was too late. The Defiant's main guns fired, sending streams of plasma straight into the exposed hull. Explosions rippled along its length, and the mighty ship began to break apart. "One down," Anderson reported, "but the other 2 are still coming." Miller didn't hesitate. "Take us through the debris field. Use the destroyed ship as cover." The Defiant weaved through the burning wreckage of the first alien ship. The remaining cruisers fired blindly, their massive weapons turning chunks of their own destroyed vessel into deadly shrapnel. "Damage report," Miller called out as the ship shuddered. "Minor hits only," Anderson replied. "The quantum shields are holding. In fact," he paused, checking his readings. "Captain, each hit from their weapons is making our shields stronger. We're learning their patterns." The second alien ship emerged from the debris field, its weapons charging for a killing blow. But Miller had one more trick ready. "Thompson, target their main weapon port. Brooks, send them their own emergency shutdown code." The 2 officers worked in perfect sync. As Brooks transmitted the stolen alien code, Thompson's shot struck home. The alien ship's main weapon overloaded just as it tried to fire. The resulting explosion tore its front section apart. "Hard to port," Miller ordered. "Get us clear." The Defiant banked sharply, avoiding the explosion. The second alien ship drifted dead in space, its crew fighting fires and system failures. But the third ship had learned from its companions' mistakes. It kept its distance, launching waves of smaller fighter craft instead of risking its main weapons. "Fighters incoming," Thompson reported. "At least 30 of them." Miller smiled. They had planned for this too. "Launch our drones." From the Defiant's launch bays, dozens of small, unmanned craft shot out. These were Anderson's other secret project. Drones equipped with miniature versions of the quantum shield. The space around the moon lit up like a light show as the drones met the alien fighters. Each drone could absorb and reflect the fighters' energy weapons, turning their own firepower against them. One by one, the alien fighters exploded or spun out of control. The third cruiser, seeing its fighters destroyed, turned to retreat. But Earth's main fleet had arrived, led by Admiral Hayes. They surrounded the alien ship, weapons ready. "Sir," Brooks reported, "the alien cruiser is surrendering. They're powering down weapons." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Their first real battle against the alien fleet, and they had won decisively. 3 of the enemy's biggest ships were destroyed or captured, and they hadn't lost a single human life. Miller keyed the ship-wide comm. "Well done, everyone. But don't celebrate too long. This was just their first wave. The main fleet is still coming." He looked out at the moon, where the wreckage of alien ships drifted silently. "But now, they know we can hurt them. And next time, we'll be ready for even more." The Defiant's crew returned to their duties, preparing for the bigger battle to come. They had won the first round, but the war for Earth was just beginning. News of the Defiant's victory spread quickly through Earth's fleet, but Captain Miller knew they had little time to celebrate. The main alien fleet was approaching rapidly, and this time they wouldn't underestimate Earth's forces. "Sir," Laura Brooks called from her station, "Dr. Wilson has found something in the captured alien ship's computer." The ship's science officer, Dr. Thomas Wilson, rushed onto the bridge holding a tablet. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Captain, look at this," he said, showing Miller the screen. "Their engines all use the same power source, some kind of artificial crystal, and it has a major weakness." Miller studied the data. "Explain." "The crystals can't handle sudden temperature changes. If we hit them with alternating heat and cold, they'll shatter." Wilson pointed to more readings. "And guess what our quantum shields can do now?" "Generate temperature waves," Miller finished, starting to smile. "Anderson, can we do it?" The chief engineer's voice came through the comm. "Already working on it, sir. Give me 30 minutes. Suddenly, Thompson's tactical screen lit up with warnings. "Captain, 40 alien ships just dropped out of light speed. They're forming an attack pattern." The massive alien fleet filled the view screen. Their ships were arranged in a giant arrow formation, with their new flagship at the point. It was twice the size of the ships they'd fought before. Miller keyed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. This is what we've trained for." The alien commander's face appeared on screen. He looked angry. "Your primitive tactics won't work again. Prepare to." Miller cut off the transmission. "Brooks, send the fleet our new attack plan. Thompson, target their engines when ready." The Defiant moved forward, leading Earth's fleet. Behind them, ships from every nation formed up in perfect lines. They had practiced this formation for hours after the first battle. "Sir," Anderson called, "temperature controls are ready. The quantum shields can now switch between extreme heat and cold." "Enemy fleet is firing," Thompson warned. Streams of energy burst from the alien ships. But this time, Earth's fleet was ready. The ships split apart in practiced movements, dodging most of the shots. The few hits that landed were absorbed by shields copied from the Defiant's design. "Launch the attack," Miller ordered. The Defiant fired first, sending alternating waves of heat and cold toward the alien ships. Where the waves hit their engine sections, the alien power crystals began to crack. "It's working," Wilson shouted. "Their engine power is dropping." The alien ships tried to scatter, but Earth's fleet had them surrounded. Each Earth ship targeted the enemy's engines, copying the Defiant's attack. Space lit up with temperature waves and weapons fire. "Their flagship is making a run at us," Thompson reported. The massive alien command ship charged straight at the Defiant, all guns blazing. But Miller had expected this. "Execute Operation Slingshot," he ordered. The Defiant turned and raced away, making the aliens think they were retreating. The huge flagship followed, just as planned. They didn't notice Earth's fleet moving to cut off their escape. "Now, Anderson, full power to the quantum shields." The Defiant spun around, its shields glowing brighter than ever. All the energy the flagship had fired at them was about to be returned. along with a massive temperature shock. The combined blast hit the alien flagship's engines. The massive power crystals couldn't handle the strain. They shattered, starting a chain reaction through the huge ship. Enemy flagship is losing power, Thompson reported with excitement. Their weapons are down. Around them, more alien ships were falling to the same tactic. Some tried to retreat, but their damaged engines made escape impossible. Others surrendered when they saw their flagship crippled. "Sir," Brooks called out, "we're getting surrender signals from 12 enemy ships. The others are trying to run." Miller watched as Earth's fleet moved in to capture the disabled alien vessels. In less than an hour, they had defeated an enemy that had conquered countless worlds. "Send word to Admiral Hayes," he ordered. "Tell him Phase 1 is complete. Now we take the fight to their remaining forces." The Defiant's crew cheered. They had not only survived against a superior force, they had won decisively. But Miller knew the alien Supreme Commander was still out there with the rest of the fleet. "Back to stations, everyone," he said. "The real test is still to come." The alien Supreme Commander was furious. Half of his mighty fleet lay defeated by a species he had thought primitive. His face appeared on every screen in Earth's fleet, his metallic mask barely hiding his rage. "You dare?" His voice boomed. "No world has ever resisted us. No species has ever fought back. You will learn the price of defiance." From behind Mars, his reserve fleet appeared. Over 100 ships, each larger than the ones Earth had faced before. At their center was the Supreme Commander's personal vessel, a monster of a ship that dwarfed even their previous flagship. Captain Miller stood on the Defiance bridge, watching the massive fleet approach. "Status report." "Sir." Engineer Anderson's voice was tense. "Our quantum shields are at full power, but they've changed their weapons. The temperature trick won't work twice." Lieutenant Thompson studied her tactical screen. "They're forming a sphere around us, trying to box us in." Miller nodded. They had expected this. "Lieutenant Martinez, are the global defense stations ready?" Carol Martinez, coordinating with Earth's ground defenses, gave a thumbs up. "All stations report ready, sir. They're following your plan exactly." The alien sphere of ships tightened around Earth's fleet, their weapons charged, glowing with deadly energy. The Supreme Commander's voice came again. "I will destroy your fleet first. Then I will burn your world while you watch." Miller pressed a button on his chair. "Now, Martinez." From Earth's surface, dozens of defense stations activated. But instead of firing weapons, they shot out beams of pure energy directly at the Defiant. "Shields at maximum," Anderson shouted, beginning energy absorption. The Defiant's quantum shields glowed brighter and brighter as they absorbed the energy from Earth's stations. The alien fleet hesitated, confused by this strange tactic. "Sir," Brooks called from communications, "Admiral Hayes says all ships are in position." Miller smiled. "Thompson, target their command ship. Full power to all weapons." The Defiant's shields suddenly pulsed outward. All the absorbed energy, combined with their own weapons, fired in one massive burst. The beam struck the Supreme Commander's ship dead center. But the alien vessel didn't explode. Instead, its shields flared and held. The Supreme Commander laughed. "Is that all?" "No," Miller said quietly. "That was just to get your attention. Anderson, show them what we learned from their computers." Anderson pressed a series of buttons. The Defiant's quantum shields changed frequency, matching the exact pattern of the alien shields. Then, they reversed it. The effect was immediate. The alien shields didn't just fail. They collapsed inward, turning their own energy back against their ships. Dozens of vessels lost power instantly. "What?" The Supreme Commander's voice showed fear for the first time. "Impossible." "Martins, Phase 2. Earth's defense stations fired again, but this time they targeted the alien fleet directly. With their shields in chaos, the alien ships had no defense. Explosions lit up space as ship after ship lost power or withdrew. The Supreme Commander's massive vessel turned to retreat, but found itself surrounded by Earth's fleet. Every ship had its weapons trained on the alien command ship. "Your shields are down," Miller said to the Supreme Commander. "Your fleet is in ruins. Surrender now." "Never. I would rather die then." His transmission cut off as Lieutenant Thompson fired a precise shot at his ship's communication array. "Sorry, sir," she said with a grin. "My fingers slipped." The Supreme Commander's ship tried to fight back, but the Defiant had powered up for another shot. This time, they targeted his engines with a combination of quantum shield energy and conventional weapons. The massive alien vessel shuddered as its main power failed. Other Earth ships moved in, disabling its remaining weapons. "Sir," Brooks reported, "we're getting surrender signals from all remaining alien ships." The bridge crew cheered as they watched the mighty alien fleet, which had conquered countless worlds, fall to Earth's defenses. The Supreme Commander's ship drifted powerless, surrounded by the very humans he had thought too primitive to fight back. Miller keyed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, well done, but stay alert. We still need to secure these ships and make sure they can never threaten Earth again." The battle was won, but Captain Miller knew their work wasn't finished. They had to show the aliens and the galaxy that humanity wasn't just capable of defending itself. They were capable of changing the course of galactic history. 1 month after the Great Battle, the U.S. Defiant sat in orbit above Earth, its hull still showing marks from the historic fight. Inside the ship's main conference room, Captain Miller watched as human leaders signed a peace treaty with the defeated alien Supreme Commander. The alien leader had been forced to remove his mask, revealing a face that looked almost human, except for his silver skin and completely black eyes. He no longer showed any sign of his former arrogance. "We acknowledge humanity as a sovereign species," the Supreme Commander said, signing the document with a shaking hand. "All human territories will remain free. We will share our technology as payment for our aggression." Admiral Hayes signed for Earth's forces. "Let this be a lesson," he said firmly. "Humanity will always fight back. We will always defend our home." After the signing, Miller walked through the Defiant's halls. Repair crews were still fixing battle damage, but the ship's crew walked with pride. They had become legends, the first humans to defeat an alien invasion. "Captain," Engineer Anderson called out, running up with excitement. "You won't believe what we found in the alien ship's computers." Miller followed him to engineering, where Dr. Wilson was studying star charts on a large screen. "Look at this," Wilson pointed to the display. "The aliens have mapped hundreds of inhabitable worlds, and most of them are occupied by other species who are forced to serve the Dominion." "Slaves," Miller said quietly, "just like they wanted to make us." "But here's the best part," Anderson added. "We've figured out how to copy their faster-than-light drive. We can build our own now." Lieutenant Thompson and Officer Brooks joined them, carrying more reports. "Sir," Thompson said, "other alien ships are retreating from all over the galaxy. When they heard we defeated their Supreme Commander, dozens of enslaved worlds started fighting back." Brooks nodded eagerly. "We're getting thank you messages from at least 15 different species. They're calling Earth the Planet of Warriors, the first world to ever defeat the Dominion fleet." Miller smiled. Humanity hadn't just defended Earth. They had accidentally started a revolution across the galaxy. Later that day, in the Defiant's observation deck, Miller met with his senior staff. Through the windows, they could see the captured alien ships being studied by Earth's scientists. "The President has given us new orders," Miller announced. "The Defiant will lead a mission to contact these other species. We'll help them fight back against any remaining Dominion forces, just like the old sailing ships," Lieutenant Martinez said. "Exploring new worlds, meeting new people. But this time, we'll be the advanced ones," Anderson added with a grin. "The aliens thought we were primitive. Now they know better." Miller looked at his crew. The people who had helped save not just Earth, but possibly the entire galaxy. Thompson, who had outshot the enemy's best gunners. Brooks, who had broken their unbreakable codes. Anderson, who had turned their own weapons against them. Dr. Wilson, who had found their weakness. Martinez, who had coordinated the perfect defense. Earth is changing, he said. We're not just one small planet anymore. Thanks to all of you, we're now part of something much bigger. Through the window, they watched as the first human-built ship with alien technology launched from Earth. It rose smoothly, its engines glowing with the same power that had once threatened to destroy them. The president asked me to name our new fleet, Miller said. I chose Star Guard. Our job will be to make sure no species ever tries to enslave another again. The crew nodded in agreement. The Defiant would lead this new fleet, carrying the message across the stars. Earth was not weak. Humanity would not bow. And any species that thought about conquest had better think twice. As his crew returned to their duties, Miller stayed at the window. Below, Earth spun peacefully, now known across the galaxy as the world that brought a mighty empire to its knees. The world that fought back. Not bad, he said quietly, for a primitive species. The U.S. Defiant continued to orbit Earth, its quantum shields ready, its crew prepared. They had faced the greatest threat in human history and won. Now they had a galaxy to protect, allies to help, and a message to spread. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were here to stay.